Alright, so this is going to be a video about arc length. Now you probably already learned about arc length a little bit when you figured out the arc length of a circle in geometry class. So you have some circle of some radius, and then there's some central angle right here, theta, and arc length is represented by s right here. Well, s is equal to the radius times whatever that theta is as long as it's in radians, and that would tell you what the arc length is. This video is going to be about finding the arc length of a function. So say I have some function f of x right here, this blue function, and I want to find the arc length in this red part right here for this interval. So I want to know what the arc length is from here to here, from this interval A to B. You are going to need calculus because what you're basically going to be doing is adding up the infinitesimally small distances along this curve. If you add them up, then you would get the arc length. Now this is kind of an involved formulation, so make sure you pay close attention. So the arc length can be thought of as being equal to the sum. So we're going the sum from A to B. This sigma means the sum, so we're figuring out the sum of all these little distances right here. So we're going to do the sum of all the distances across this interval from A to B, and that's basically what this is saying right here. So now I'm going to rewrite this using the actual distance formula plus delta y squared. So that's going to be the distance formula right here for this d right here. I just substituted in the distance formula right here. Okay, from here I am going to simplify this equation right here. So from here I'm going to actually factor out this delta x squared just to simplify the equation a little bit more. Factoring out this delta x squared. Okay, so if I multiply this delta x squared by 1, I get the delta x squared here. If I multiply this by this right here, that delta x squared on the bottom is going to cancel. You'll have delta y squared. So basically these two statements are still equivalent. Now how this simplifies this is as follows. So this part right here is going to be the square root. If you remember your square root properties, I can pull out this delta x squared square root, and then I can multiply it by the square root of this 1 plus delta y squared over delta x squared. Now if you look at this, you should know delta y over delta x is just slope. So instead of writing delta y over delta x with both of these being squared, I'm just going to write m squared, because if you remember the formula for slope, the equation uses m, so y equals mx plus b, that m is the slope. So now it's a little bit easier to look at. Okay, I'm going to simplify this further because this square root and this squared are going to cancel. So now you're left with, this is adding up each one of these delta x's. Now we want the delta x to be as small as humanly possible, so you're getting each individual little point as you go along that curve. So that means we're going to have to go to get to be infinitesimally small. If you remember, delta x when it's infinitesimally small turns into dx. So what I'm going to do with that delta x is I'm going to turn it into a dx. Okay? When the slope becomes infinitesimally small, and instead of going from 2 points it goes to 1, it's getting infinitesimally small, that slope ends up becoming the derivative. So now I'm going to have the derivative squared instead of m squared. Now this sigma right here, since we're adding up from one interval to the next, that's the same thing as integration. So I'm going to put the integral here from a to b. So basically I substituted in each of the things as we go to infinity. Now all you have to do is move this dx on the other side here. So if you use this equation right here, you would be able to figure out what the arc length of this part of this interval is from A to B. If you knew what A was, what B was, what the function was, you would be able to figure out the arc length based on this equation. So that's arc length. If you have any questions about anything in this video, let me know.